decades from now, in the future, you will have to look back and say, this is the society that I belong to. This is what I supported, or this is what I rejected. So this will be your history.
I don't know why, if the hero is a super hyper masculine hero, then why does the female character also have to be like weak?
Can we just stop with the blame game? Makers should do this, actors should do this, censors should do this. You decide where you're gonna put your bucks.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I'm so thrilled to see such a packed house. This is a very important conversation, and there's still people coming in. Yay! Welcome to a very special session of Front Row, brought to you in collaboration with Tinder. And I want to start by just sharing some numbers. So Tinder, along with YouGov, did a survey of over 1,000 young adults across 7 cities in India, including, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Pune, all the major cities. And here are some of the numbers. Now, please pay attention. So more than 60% of young adults hesitate to ask for and explicitly give consent while with a date or partner. 67% struggle to withdraw consent once given. Almost 70% of men struggle to communicate about consent, which can lead to uncomfortable experiences for their partners and themselves due to a lack of open communication. There is rising anxiety about redressing potential consent violations, but only some take it up with their partners. In fact, 3 in 4 people did not prefer turning to their partner, and most ended up speaking to a friend, 32%, their parents, 17%, or to a counselor/therapist, 12%. This particular statistic is very important because it speaks to the discomfort, specifically in intimate relationships, when it comes to being able to communicate about consent. In fact, the survey revealed that almost 8 in 10 Indians have either personally experienced or know somebody who has experienced something uncomfortable while being with someone. Now, with that in mind, I want to call on stage the director, Sonam Nair, and an actor who I think played a critical role in bringing consent into the conversation in mainstream Hindi cinema, Taapsee Pannu.
Yes, let's have a seat. You're going to sit that side?
Yeah,
You're going to sit that side. We also have some of the cast in the second row. So, Sonam, I want to start with you. The idea of consent in theory is so simple, right? Yes means yes, no means no. But as we've seen in the film, in the numbers that the Tinder study has brought up, that it's very, very complicated to navigate in life. You had 8 minutes, a little over 8 minutes. How challenging was it to insert so many ideas and points of view into it?
So I got very lucky that the script came to me. The script room and this girl Shivani in it, they wrote it and they did a lot of research based on Tinder's research, but also I think just their friends, their own lives. You can tell, right? It's very personal. And they came to me and I asked them the same question, how did you get so many conversations going within 8 minutes? And I think they focused on things that were just really the most, relevant and the most common, which is, it's not like that black and white where you don't know a person and they're coming and violating your consent. It's within people who know each other. So whether it's friends, whether it's within a girlfriend and boyfriend's relationship, or whether it's someone where you have a spark with, but you can't tell. So I think they kept it to the most common and also the grayest, I think, which actually I think makes it that much more kind of delicious to get into because you're like, oh, this stuff is just new to explore, basically.
Yeah. Hindi cinema for decades has sort of portrayed stalking as romance, right? That idea of tu haan kar ya na kar, tu hai meri kiran, is sort of encapsulates basically कि कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ना whether हाँ कर या ना कर, I'm there, you know, you're mine. That's it. Do you feel that this idea of romance has actually impacted in life and shaped people's notions of what love looks like?
It probably is a catalyst, I'll say, but I wouldn't say that the films or the portrayal was without reflecting what was actually there in the society already. Because where else do you pick from? They are in a way reflection of the society and the character kind of characters we live around, right? So definitely, and when shown and glorified, obviously reassures that this is right.
This is fine.
This is fine. This
Yeah.
is normal.
Yeah.
And hence it becomes the catalyst in taking it ahead rather than stubbing it.
So it's a real chicken and egg, right?
It is. It is.
And
it
it's
is.
always been.
Yeah, and it will always be as well. You know,
Yeah.
it's that debate is in the gray zone and will always stay in the gray zone, because unless and until we know our mind that what is right and wrong for us, we will keep finding other things like films and you know these kind of things to blame.
Right.
So yeah, unless and until you are sure of your mind, if you're so impressionable that you know a film can sway you away, then there are so many good things as well that are spoken about in cinema.
Correct.
Then we conveniently pick the not so good ones and then blame cinema for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So coming back to the film, there's, you know, you have a gay man who says that just because I'm gay doesn't mean I'm into every man, right? Why was that important?
I think two things. One, to show that men also have their consent violated, whether straight or gay or bisexual. I think that's just like a commonly ignored thing, that only women can get their consent violated. So that showed that so beautifully. And the other thing was that, you know, just this idea that like in gay relationships, oh, it's just two guys, so they just like, you just put any two gay guys in a room and they'll be into each other. Like that's so common that I think once the film came out, that line was quoted back to me so many times, that thank you for saying it, because people are just assuming that just because I'm a guy, first of all, a guy, that's enough. Now you're like ready to have sex at any given point with anybody.
Yeah.
And if you're a gay man, then even more so. So I think it was so important to point out that no, it's an individual boundary that each person draws and has nothing to do with their sexuality or their gender. Really. Yeah.
And you know, the other key takeaway I think is that idea that if a woman is too drunk to give consent, then it's a no.
Yeah.
You know, that's something I think is not put out there enough, that is then a no. The partner needs to be aware of it. Tell me about sort of developing that aspect into the movie. It's a line, but it's a very important line.
Yeah, because it's so grey consent that, you know, I feel like, I mean, even in my friends, in my own personal life, I feel like, you know, you don't want to backtrack. So people give consent and then they're like, you know, how do I take it back or whatever. And when you're drunk, you're not like conscious enough to actually make that decision. So it's all very usually just said, oh, I was drunk, so I just did it. Like women themselves will make it an excuse. Like, you know, I was drunk, so I did it, it's fine. And then a guy taking advantage of a woman who can't decide for herself and just making that decision for her, that's so important to highlight, because I feel like in that one circumstance, even a yes means a no, you know. So every other time we're saying that a no means a no, and you know, that's the boundary. But in certain circumstances, even when they're saying yes, you draw that boundary, because maybe they're not conscious enough of what they're saying.
Yeah. You know, Taapsee, I want to talk a little bit about Pink, which is a film that I really love, and I went back before this to sort of see that climactic speech again.
Yeah.
And you know, it's 2016, and still that moment when Mr. Bachchan says in that baritone, "Ki no ka matlab no hi hota hai," is still so emotionally resonant. But I was thinking, this is 6 years ago. It was still early days for you in your career in Hindi cinema. And this is a risky thing to do. Why did you say yes?
Because like if I can say, take the liberty of saying 99.9% of girls, especially coming from Delhi, will resonate with it. So I think that there was not even an ounce of doubt or not so sure. In fact, Shujibda actually asked me, do you think we should make this film? Because he's based it out of Delhi and I'm from there, and I was freshly
After
from
he narrated the script.
After I got the script, I liked it. I didn't even know Bachchan sir was there in the film at that time. So he said, do you think we should make this film? Does it feel like something that your age people would want to go and watch? I said, yes, why not? I would want to do it. I will pay to go and watch it. I don't know if it was out of impulse of, feeling so much for what was written, or wanting to watch something like this regardless of me being there or no, because it just hit home in a lot of ways. I don't know what was it, but I didn't have any second doubts about the fact that if I would want to go and watch it, any of the other people of my age group, I did have a doubt that will families want to go and will they watch it with their kids? Yes, that was, but that was after we had shot the film, that I thought maybe it'll be uncomfortable for people to watch it, like family to sit and watch it together. But then later on, I think by the second week or so, I got to know there were parents with their daughters who were walking out of the theater watching it together. There were so many parents that took their daughters with them, and the other way around as well. So I think that's what was the biggest, I feel the biggest success of Pink was that, to get them together, the two generations to watch it together, and walk out of the theater with, having moved, their hearts and minds.
Yeah. It's very moving. Did you have women come up to you and say that it made a difference? I'm sure you did.
Yeah, it did. It did start I think, and thankfully by God's grace, it's still going on, the fact that people who come up to me and, want to talk to me or congratulate me are the ones who want to say that thank you for doing the kind of films you do. And it started with Pink. So they're like, well, the pink girl, and it was like, thank you for doing this. They're like, no, it's not about taking a selfie with you. It's not about, just like, your song was good or that was good. And like, thank you for doing that film. I got so many such messages, such compliments. And that was, again, as you said, early in my career. So for me, having done the kind of films I had done down south, it was a very new feeling to see these kind of reactions coming my way, and the girls coming and saying it looked like it was me.
Correct.
So that reflection of their own selves that they saw in me, that was, I didn't even know how to wrap my head around that kind of reaction back then. Yeah, like how you don't know it looked like me. So you not sure how do you respond, because the same thing actually, again, little away from this context, happened with me in Thappad as well.
Right.
When people came up to me and said it looked like my story, and I did not know how to react, honestly, because it doesn't feel nice to know that you went through that. So it is very awkward for me to say, oh, thank you. So I'm very dumbfounded, like, oh. That's all I can. I am actually tongue-tied. I don't know. So those kind of reactions started coming in from Pink.
But I guess what happens is in the way Pink did, in the way this film does, is you articulate something people feel, but don't know how to express, don't know how to say. What's also interesting in this film is that you're not villainizing the men, right? I mean, the guy says that, look, I don't understand. And she says, but I'm here. I'm not going to, it's not my job to educate you, which I think is very important. This also can't be on the women. No, really. I mean, we're carrying enough of the load. But she says, I'm here if you need to talk. Why was that important? Why to sort of just say that we're in this together?
Yeah, I think that's actually the main purpose of this film, is to open up conversations. So we're not here to be like, this is exactly what you need to do and this is wrong and this is right. We're just saying
it's not prescriptive.
It's just saying, let's talk. You know, these things are not talked about. They're a little awkward. I mean, even a girlfriend and boyfriend who've been together for years might not exactly discuss it. So so the film ends with that because that's all we're saying. We're saying, let's keep the conversation going. It's weird, it's awkward, it might be tiresome, but let's talk about it instead of just like being like, oh, it's fine, or it's weird, or oh, who's going to talk about this, yeah, because it can really have a long lasting impact. Like that guy who needs a little education, he's just being casual and himself, but that girl has obviously gone through a trauma, and another incident has triggered it, and that's what we're trying to show, that like once you have faced some kind of consent violation, it doesn't leave your body, it just stays, and it's a really big deal for the person who's had that happen to them. So you might be casual or whatever, but look at what she's dealing with now. So I think just like talking about it can help, your friends and girlfriends and sisters or whoever, or boyfriends kind of not go through that trauma. So just talk, that's all.
Do you both think that there is a change in Hindi cinema? Are we moving away from that very kind of archaic portrayal, or in fact, are we regressing back? What is your sense of what's happening right now?
Okay, so you want to talk about what Hindi cinema basis what audience are buying the ticket for, or what is getting made?
Both.
I guess you all know what I'm talking about. Well, if you talk about what's getting made, because I'm from that side, I haven't seen, I don't even remember when did I last hear a script that came to me at least, where it looked like this is regressive, or this is something that I as a girl will feel uncomfortable watching, or it's been quite some time.
So they don't even come to you anymore?
They don't come to me specifically.
Yeah. Right.
I'm sure that it goes to a lot of others. That's why they're getting made. So, yeah, but guys, you guys are going and watching it also. So, the joke is on you also.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna come to the audience. But tell me, generally speaking, when you look at the environment around, like, do you sense a change in the way women are portrayed?
I feel like with more women kind of writing and directing and producing and having a say, it is something that is being looked into, at least in a certain section of the industry, I feel. But like Taapsee said, I don't know if...
See, my strongest of the characters in my films are directed by men. So you see in my filmography all the strong roles that people resonate with, most of them are directed and also sometimes written by men. I think apart from Kanika, and who's written Manmarzi and Haseen Dilruba, apart from that, it's Mrunmayee, who's a co-writer along with Anubhav Sir for Thappad. But like a lot of my films from Pink till now, where the woman is the hero and in control and is deciding what she wants to do, doesn't want to do, are written and directed by men. So I have had some really, really strong feminist men as directors in my filmography who actually helped me shape my idea of feminism as well.
In what way?
That it is okay or not okay, like to think that you deserve this or not deserve this. See, I also come from a very middle class patriarchal background from where I come from. So it took me years of correcting myself with the exposure that I got through films and working in this industry that helped me shape my personality and outlook towards what to do and what not to do. And these directors have a very strong role to play in it. Be it someone like Anurag Kashyap, for example, who was the first one who asked me when he finalized me for Rumi. It almost felt like a joke when he made me sit down and say, okay, my hero is sorted, let's figure out who are going to be the two heroines in the film. So I was like, is it a joke? Like, it's like a candid camera. He's like, no, it's because my story is going to be told by this character. So now according to this girl, I'm going to figure out who the other two guys are going to be. So that for me was very empowering, that okay, gender doesn't decide. So I have the power to call shots in any way. So that is that man who made me feel that I am in this kind of a position today. So hence, a lot of these new things that I got introduced to the feelings that I got introduced to by a lot of these male directors who've directed me in films.
How do the two of you feel about artists having to be mindful of what they're putting out there? Now, this is a discussion I've had with storytellers for years and years. And you know, some people are like, no, there is a social responsibility. And especially in a country like ours, you have to be aware of what you're saying. And others have been like, no, my responsibility is to create great art. Now, whether that messaging, whether that character is, you know, is problematic, is not really my problem. I'm sort of aspiring to bigger things.
Yeah.
What is your take on this?
Again, I feel it's a very gray zone, as you rightly said, right? So there is on one side, you do know we live in a country highly impressionable and looking at the actors as heroes and idols and all of that. So you hence have a sense of responsibility to make sure you show the bad. See, unless and until you don't show the bad, how will you say that it's bad?
Right.
So you have to show the bad and wrong. But at the same time, so films are not NGOs. They're also, as I said, the reflection of the society. So there are
their
certain things-
entertainment, right?
Yes,
That's
the
the main
entertainment
purpose.
and what is really happening, realistic cinema, so to say, is also about showing the reality, and the larger reality of this country is something that on paper might not look right. Whatever happens in each household, things are skewed a little bit, okay? So we're still not there at equality, right? So do you want to see the reflection of society in real in your films, or do you want them to be NGOs and, you know, chapters for socialism? What do you want your cinema to be? So it's hence I said both these arguments are right and wrong at the same place. So I myself don't have a very definitive answer for this question. Having said that, how I can only say by how I reach out or how I choose my films and my roles, where I feel I want to play the bad. I've done that in Badla. I don't want people to turn murderers after seeing me in that film. But
They'll run out of the door and start.
start like just killing everyone who comes in the way of success. No. But the other side, you know, there needs to be a certain payback, and especially as a woman, you should have authority to choose. That should be in my control. I'm not someone who's always going to be subjected to being told by men or people around that this is what you're supposed to do. Until the end, I keep doing that. That, I mean, as personally, if my personal take is that I will end up having a certain payback given to the character, like say in Badla, you're the antagonist, you'll be the antagonist in the end.
Yeah.
And if it's any character where I feel she is making a mistake, but it is her choice to make that mistake.
Sure.
As a woman, she chose to, say for example, she chose to be the housewife in Thappad.
Right.
Okay, so she chose to be the woman who will take do the pashtatap for her mistake in Haseen Dilruba. She chose. Nobody asked her to do it. It's her choice, out of her free will. So these things give me a feeling that your character as a female is in charge. So that's how I decide.
What about you?
I don't think of myself as a great artist or anything. I actually do try to choose things which have some sort of message, I have to be honest. Like I want representation of things that we don't talk about. That's my number one goal. I feel like there are so many things that have not been shown on screen in India, and especially like in female lives. So from consent to just showing like a girl getting her period for the first time in my first film, to my last series where the lead character is actually getting her eggs frozen. I feel like these kind of things I just want to put on screen. I want to show like our lives on screen. And it's not that I will choose specifically being like, oh, this is a great message, so let me do this. That's not, I mean, it's the story and the world of it. But I think like if there was some kind of wrong messaging in it, I would never do it. And if the story wasn't amazing, but the message was something I really connected with, I would do it. So I've never done a brand film before, and I did this because this message was just so important. And I said, I get to be a part of like putting it out there. So
Yeah.
I'm very happy to do it.
You were saying earlier, is it the films that are being made or the films that the audience is buying tickets to? And they're buying tickets to films that, the success of, let's say, films like Suryavanshi or Pushpa or KGF or RRR, it kind of suggests to me that that larger than life hero, that hyper masculine hero is back, right? What does that do to the portrayal of women? And what does that do to conversations about things as tricky as consent? Because in at least a few of these films, consent ki to baat hi nahi.
It is worrisome. It is worrisome.
Yeah.
I don't know why, if the hero is a super hyper masculine hero, then why does the female character also have to be like weak? Why can't they also be
That's
strong?
what I wonder. Yeah.
Make both strong. It's not taking away his masculinity to make the female actor stronger, right? It's better, I feel. I don't know why that happens. I guess it's a reflection of society.
But it worries you, Taapsee.
It is little like I'm very confused, honestly. I will not do those films. Thankfully, fortunately, films still come to me which don't make me feel awkward and uncomfortable, and I do them, and it's not like people are thronging the theaters for those films. But having said that, I will, just because they're not coming to these kind of films doesn't mean I'll start doing that kind of films. I will not be able to feel comfortable being a part of a film where it's okay about having lesser screen space. I don't have a problem with that at all. It's just about just being a weaker, meeker voice where she never has the power to choose. Never. She's just always mansplained, always told, always forced, and that calls for CT Tali. Like, I really would want to have CT Tali in my films, but not at my cost.
Right.
All the time. So it is, as I said, worrisome, and I have no answer, or I think the whole industry right now is trying to figure out. Trust me, most of the makers, at least a lot of producers I've worked with, directors, writers, not that they feel right or nice about it, but none of us have an answer to what is this audience wanting to see. This is what is making them feel excited or entertained. So we're just trying to wrap our heads around right now, what do they really want?
Which brings me, yes, I am going to open it up to audience questions, but before that, just one last question. Like, as you said, the buck stops here, right? Finally, the ball is in their court. They decide what runs, what doesn't run, what kind of topics we see on screen. What is your advice? And again, obviously, this is just something you can put out into the world as a wish. But what would you like people to support with that, 200 rupee multiplex ticket?
See, all I'll say is, which I've kind of said before, these films that are getting made and their success and failure is getting documented in history. Okay, so decades from now, in the future, you will have to look back and say, this is the society that I belong to. This is what I supported, or this is what I rejected. So this will be your history, which is getting documented and registered in these films. So make sure, a couple of decades down the line, when you look back, you are proud of what you've been a part of.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Rest is up to them.
Don't be ashamed. I just wish that people would stop trying to guess what the audience wants and just focus on the page, focus on the shoot, focus on the edit, focus on the sound mix. Just like do a good job there. And then see whether that works, everything is like, just yesterday I had an argument with somebody because I said, they gave me a script and I said, the male character is not developed better, like it's a female-led film, but the male character said, it's not developed properly, I'm not feeling anything. And they're like, yeah, but who will we get to cast anyway? So let's just
Oh my God. So let's just
it's
write
a
him
small
badly.
role anyway. I'm like, that's how people think with women.
That's
They're
right.
like, yeah, if it's a male character, female ko itna kyun develop karna, let's just, like, nobody's not working on the page. How does it, why are you thinking about casting? I'll do it. Like, so I just want that mentality to go and just do your work honestly and properly. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. All right, we're going to open it up. So I'm just going to call out your names, guys, and please stand up and ask the question. Gurkirat Singh.
Hi, Taapsee. Hi, Sonam. So, my question to you is that do you think that the censor board needs to be stricter with movies and songs that unintentionally show a lack of consent? Do you,
Can I answer
It's
my
a tough
Yeah,
one.
please, yeah.
Can we just stop with the blame game? Makers should do this, actors should do this, censors should do this. You decide where you're gonna put your bucks. Stop. Like, I don't know why everybody wants to put it on the other. I don't have any brain. मैं तो कुछ भी देख लेता हूँ जाके यार. But ये सेंसर को डिसाइड करना चाहिए ना पिक्चर रिलीज होनी चाहिए थी कि नहीं. अरे यार मतलब सेंसर है and you're above 18 years of age, then you'll say हमारी फ्रीडम का क्या हुआ? अरे यार ना इधर का ना उधर का मतलब I swear sometimes I really think we in the film industry and including censor board, I'm including them with us, imagine kya din aa gaye. We are all soft powers and soft targets.
Yeah.
It's just so ironic.
Yeah.
We are at the receiving end regardless. So please, we are all like developed brains, 18 plus. Most of us are earning money and have the full freedom and right to decide which movies ticket should I watch, should I buy or not buy, recommend, not recommend. So please do that.
Akshita?
Hi, my question is, how important are intimacy directors on set, and what exactly do they do that helps the situation?
So fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know because I have not had one till now on any of my films. So I will give it a pass to her. You've had one?
I haven't had because I haven't done any
And I haven't, yeah.
sexually explicit kind
Oh,
of scenes.
Okay.
But I think it's very important, and I'm so happy that this is now coming in. I think in the previous film that Tinder made about consent, they had an intimacy director, and now it's kind of like I don't know what has happened on earlier sets with these kind of scenes, but I don't think anything good has happened around them. So at least if we can have like that kind of consent form, very formal, like everybody says what is okay, and then even while doing it, sometimes like we talk here, like you can withdraw consent while doing it. So then it's that person's job to kind of go and like make sure, is it okay? Are you gonna backtrack? You don't feel comfortable? They talk to the director and tell them, okay, they're not comfortable. So it's just like you just feel safe, and that's such a needed thing. I don't know what was happening before this.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough that whenever I've had intimate scenes in my films, I didn't feel violated. I was asked and made sure that I'm comfortable all the time. So all I'll say is I'm just probably very lucky because I've read some really like such scary things from the previous yesterday's actresses who've mentioned things in their interviews. It's been scary. I've been fortunate. I haven't had an intimacy director so far, but I'm sure in the future, with the current mandates that are coming with films, might have one. Maybe then I'll tell you the difference before and after.
Right, thank you so much.
So there is some progress, right?
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
a big one. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big one. My favorite Taapsee story is you talk about that some film you did in the South where they asked you to change a line.
Yeah.
They asked her to redub a line because Hero Sir wanted it changed. I love Hero Sir.
Hero Sir.
I just love it.
Hero Sir wanted a change in my line, and I'm trying to dub in a language that I'm not familiar with, and it's a close-up of mine, the line that I had said in front of Hero Sir on live location, and he just felt like it just didn't massage his ego enough. that line. So he was like, no, please ask her to change and dub something else. And I asked the director who was sitting for the dubbing, that why are we changing? He's like, no, because hero sir. He's also so like clueless. Why are we changing? Hero sir wants it, so I have no answer. I'm like, I will not do it, and I would rather keep it mute if your hero sir doesn't like it. But when I saw the film, they had gotten a special dubbing artist to dub that line in what hero sir had asked to dub, only for that particular dialogue.
Sambhav Jain.
Good evening, ma'am. First of all, everyone. My question is, when was the first time you realized about the concept of consent, and when was the time you or your partner realized that you are asking or not asking for the consent in your relation? Question to Taapsee, ma'am.
Whole Zindagi kahani.
I'm thinking the first is, when did I realize the idea of consent? So honestly, for me, the idea of consent, again, not being repetitive, but just to give you a background from the place I come from, consent is directly proportional to the clothes you wear, to the time of the day or night you are out, with what gender you are roaming around with. So these were the ideas of consent. I'm sorry, I must be missing a few more because the list is so long, it's exhaustive to remember. So this, for me, I was like not taught but interpreted that this is the idea of consent, because इस टाइम के बाद बाहर नहीं जाना, ऐसे कपड़े नहीं पहनने, इतने लड़कों से बात नहीं करनी, लड़कों के साथ ज़्यादा नहीं खेलना, you know, all these things. So this was, for me, I understood, okay, this is the idea of consent. This is how I'm supposed to be. Then obviously, slowly as I started growing up, and I realized that in spite of following these kind of norms, your consent is violated in some proportion, like not just has to be like the scariest moment, but it has to, there's something or the other that has happened in my life also while growing up, where I've been touched at a wrong place, where you feel, I didn't ask, what did I do? I was just walking on the road. I mean, is that also a part of a don't now? So I had to add all these things in my don't list, which is directly proportional to the idea of consent, only to grow up and then realize when I had my, like my partner, so in my relationships with whoever I've been with from my school, college time to later on, it's never been discussed, like, am I okay, not okay? For me, it was like my behavior will tell. And I didn't feel violated in my relationships, thankfully. And until I realized the person I'm with now, it's been 9 years. And that's the time, I think, 9 years back when we started, when we got into the relationship, and the first time ever I had a conversation. And we spoke about, okay, no, I'm not in a mood, or yes, or not now, or, you know, so with experience, things, I started negating things. With new experience, I started realizing, oh, this is feeling nice. So I don't have really timeline of this. I'm telling you how my mind changed the idea of consent from where it was in the beginning with the time and the clothes and all that, to just having an upfront conversation with the partner I'm with. So that's how it has changed.
Last question, guys. Rishira Ganguly.
There are a lot of movies in the past that did not deal well with the concept of consent. For instance, the morning after, you know, in DDLJ, Zara Sa Jhoom Loo Main, the whole deal with Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol. So, but it is also important to see these movies as a product of their time, or does the criticism still hold?
Or does?
The criticism still hold that, oh no, that's,
When you look back,
it wasn't, yeah, it wasn't consent and whatever.
I think I've answered that before. It's just documenting the stories of your times, and it's showing that, you know, this was what it was and how consent was considered back then. And today, when these probably, at least in the films I do and I get, these things are not there anymore in those scripts, helps me document the fact that now it has changed. So criticism is important, better late than never. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and also like if you keep looking at the past, you'll just keep finding these problems. Might as well now look at what we're doing henceforth and try and not make that mistake again.
Yeah, because, you know, I was saying this to someone the other day, like, at that point, and I just started as a journalist in 1995, you know, and we didn't have the tools. We didn't know that this was not okay.
Yeah.
For us, it just felt very romantic, you know, and it just felt like, oh my God, this is just so beautiful. But you know, I think it's important to recognize both, that this was not okay, but that this was a film that was made 25 years ago, and at that point, everyone thought that this was the height of romance. कि मैं हिंदुस्तानी औरत का, what was it? इज्जत क्या होती है? Some that great line, you know? हाँ, मैं जानता हूँ कि हिंदुस्तानी औरत के लिए इज्जत के क्या मायने हैं, or something like that. You know, so I think, and that's what is interesting, that you can go back to even iconic films and sort of see what the soft spots are, and see how far we've come, which I think is a great thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Better
So-
to see the glass half full.
always,
Yeah.
always.
Otherwise, it's just going downhill, guys.
Otherwise, it's too half
work
empty.
towards
It's
filling
too
it.
empty. It's
We're
getting
working
emptier
towards
and
filling it
emptier.
up. Like, we'll do our bit.
We'll do our bit.
Yeah, we'll fill it
Indeed.
up. Yeah.
Yes,
as much as
indeed.
we can.
Sonam, Taapsee, thank you so much. This was such fun, and thank you all. Thank you for coming. And
Just a special appreciation for the team who wrote the script. I've seen the film. Very, very good. Guys, who, I don't know who. Are they here? Very well written. My biggest takeaway after seeing that work was it's written fantastically.
that's what I asked her, Taapsee. I was like, in 8 minutes, you've put in so many things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's so engaging for those 8 minutes is a short time, but still, I'm not a person who watches a lot of short films. This was very well written. Very. I thought it will be like yet another, you know, a basic gyan giving kind of a film. But guys, it was very well written. Whoever wrote it, and you guys were really good. You're really good. Yeah.